What happens when you call out to God with everything you have, and the only response is a terrifying silence? We are not talking about a quiet moment of meditation. We are talking about the silence of a disconnected line. Imagine standing on the edge of a cliff. Below you is an army of thousands ready to slaughter you and your children. You run to the church, but the doors are locked. You open your Bible, but the pages are blank. You scream at the sky, but the sky is made of iron. This was the reality of King Saul on his final night on earth. This is not just a story about a king visiting a fortune teller. This is the first recorded instance in history of a man accessing the forbidden dark web of the ancient world. The year is approximately 1000 BC. The location is the ominous valley of Jezreel. The Philistine army has gathered like a swarm of locusts at Shunem. They are there to wipe Israel off the map. King Saul looks down from the heights of Gilboa, and for the first time in his life, his heart stops. He is trembling, not just with fear, but with a supernatural dread. He knows he is outnumbered. He knows he is outmatched. But that is not his biggest problem. His biggest problem is that his God has gone dark. The Bible records this in a chillingly bureaucratic way. It says that Saul inquired of the Lord, but the Lord did not answer him. Not by dreams, not by the Urim, not by the prophets. The phone line to heaven had been cut. The Urim and Thummim, the sacred stones used to determine the will of God, remained dull and lifeless. The prophets had no visions. The dream realm was empty. Saul was completely alone in the universe. So what does a desperate man do when the light of heaven goes out? He turns to the darkness. But here lies the supreme irony. Years earlier, in a burst of religious zeal, King Saul himself had signed the death warrant for all mediums and spiritualists. He had driven them out of the land. He had hunted them down like animals. Yet now, under the cover of night, this same king strips off his royal robes. He removes his crown. He puts on the disguise of a common criminal. He turns to his servants and whispers the most hypocritical command in biblical history. He says, "Find me a woman who is a medium, that I may go to her and inquire of her." He is asking for a Balat Ha'ob, the mistress of the Ob. He is not looking for a simple fortune teller. He is looking for a back door into the spiritual realm. He needs someone with the technology to hack into the afterlife. And his servants knew exactly where to look. They whispered a name that would become synonymous with horror. There is a woman at Endor. Why Endor? Why did he have to cross enemy lines, risking capture and torture, just to see this specific woman? Because she was not just a witch, she was something else entirely, and she held the key to the terrifying truth about the Last Giantess Witch. Let us pause the narrative for a moment. We need to act as forensic profilers. We need to ask the question that most theologians ignore. Why Endor? Of all the places in Israel, why did King Saul have to go there? To understand the horror of what happens next, you must understand the geography. This was not a convenient trip. Endor was located on the northern side of the Hill of Moreh. Saul was stationed at Gilboa. The Philistine army, the enemy, was camped right in between them at Shunem. To get to Endor, Saul had to travel approximately 10 miles in total darkness. He had to flank the enemy camp. He had to crawl on his belly through hostile lines. If he was caught, he would be executed.
If he was recognized, his head would be cut off before sunrise. He risked everything for this specific location. This suggests that Endor was not just a village, it was a destination. It was a hotspot. In the world of the paranormal, we call this a thin place, a location where the veil between our world and the spirit world is almost transparent. Let us look at the history of this soil. The name Endor or Endor means the spring of Dor. But the Bible gives us a much darker profile of this region. Open your investigation file to Psalm 83, verse 10. The psalmist speaks of the enemies of God who perished at Endor. And look at how their death is described. It says, they became as refuse for the earth. Some translations say they became dung for the ground. This region is a massive ancient graveyard. It is the site where the Canaanite general Sisera and his armies were slaughtered. For centuries, the soil of Endor had been drinking the blood of violent men. Their bodies were left to rot, soaking into the water table, feeding the roots of the trees. But it goes deeper than just dead human soldiers. We must look at who owned this land before Israel arrived. This territory, the region of the Jezreel Valley and Mount Tabor, was known in the ancient texts as the land of the giants. In the book of Joshua, chapter 17, when the tribes of Israel are complaining about their territory, Joshua tells them to go up to the forest country. He specifically calls it the land of the Perizzites and the Rephaim. The Rephaim. This is the key word. The Rephaim were a tribe of giants. They were the genetic descendants of the Nephilim. They were the monsters that God commanded Israel to wipe out. But the word Rephaim has a double meaning in Hebrew. It refers to a living ethnic group of giants, but it also refers to the spirits of the dead in the underworld. So Saul is not just going to a random town. He is entering the ancestral homeland of the Rephaim. He is walking into a territory that was once ruled by hybrid entities. This explains why the witch was there. Saul had successfully purged the mediums from the holy cities. He had cleaned out the highlands of Judah. But Endor was on the fringe. It was on the edge of the wild country. It is highly probable that this woman living in this cave was not a pure-blooded Israelite. We propose a terrifying theory here. Why did this woman have the ability to communicate with the dead when others did not? Was it just a skill she learned from a book? No. In the ancient world, magic was often tied to bloodlines. If this region was the stronghold of the Rephaim, then this woman could be a genetic survivor. She could be a remnant of the mixed multitudes. She is a Baalat Ha'ob. She is a mistress of the Ob. She possesses a biological trait that has been passed down through the maternal line. She carries a dormant gene from the Watchers. This genetic marker makes her a living antenna. Saul is looking for a frequency that he cannot hear, so he goes to a woman who has the hardware to receive it. Imagine the scene. 3 men disguised in rags, walking through a valley that smells of old death. They are walking over the bones of giants. The air is heavy. The silence is unnatural. They are approaching a cave where the last of the Rephaim witches is waiting. She is not hiding in a house in the village. The text implies a secluded setting. She is likely dwelling in the caves of the limestone cliffs. This is the perfect setting for a séance. The limestone acts as a natural conductor. The history of bloodshed provides the energy, and the woman provides the connection. Saul thinks he's just going to ask for advice. He does not realize he is stepping into a trap set by the enemies of God thousands of years ago. He is knocking on the door of the underworld, and he is about to find out that when you knock on that door, something will eventually open it.
We have reached the cave. The disguise is effective. The guards are bypassed. King Saul stands before the woman. But who is she, really? In our modern translations, we lazily call her the Witch of Endor. When we hear the word witch, we think of a woman boiling herbs in a pot, or perhaps a fraud with a crystal ball. But the Hebrew Bible does not use the word witch here. The term used in 1 Samuel chapter 28, verse 7 is specific, technical, and terrifying. She is called a Ba'alat Ha'ob. We must dissect this title word by word. Ba'alat means the mistress, or the owner, or the lady of. It implies possession and mastery. She owns something. She controls something. But what does she own? She owns the Ob. What is an Ob? In the ancient Semitic languages, an Ob referred to a hollow vessel. It was often used to describe a wineskin, a leather bottle made from the skin of an animal. It implies something that is empty, waiting to be filled. But it also had a secondary meaning. It referred to a sound, specifically a hollow, mumbling sound that seems to come from a pit or from the ground. So when the Bible calls her the mistress of the Ob, it is describing a technology. She is not just chanting spells. She is a biological vessel. She is a human container. She has trained her body, or perhaps her genetics have designed her body, to act as a receiver for frequencies coming from the earth. Think of her as a living radio tower. The prophet Isaiah gives us a clue about how this technology worked. In Isaiah chapter 8, verse 19, he mocks these mediums. He describes them as those who chirp and mutter. The Hebrew word for mutter implies a low-frequency vibration. This woman at Endor was a master of acoustics. She knew how to manipulate the resonant frequencies of the cave. She knew how to lower her own brainwaves to sync with the muttering of the earth. She was using the Ob, the hollow vessel of her own being, to channel voices from Sheol. This brings us to a darker question. Where did she learn this? You cannot learn this at the local synagogue. This is forbidden knowledge. This is a black art that was erased from the public record. To find the source, we must go back to the days before the flood. We must look at the mothers of the Nephilim. According to the book of Enoch, when the Watchers descended to Mount Hermon, they did not just sleep with human women, they taught them. The angel Azazel and his cohorts taught women the art of magical medicine, incantations, and the cutting of roots. They taught them how to alter reality. Notice the pattern. The forbidden knowledge was given specifically to women. Why? Because women are the gatekeepers of life.
They bring souls into the world through birth. The fallen angels wanted to corrupt this channel, to make women the gatekeepers of death as well. The woman at Endor is a legacy of this corruption. She is likely a hybrid in spirit, if not in body. Look at her confidence. Look at her arrogance. When Saul asks her to conduct the séance, she is initially afraid of the law of the king. She says, "You know what Saul has done, how he has cut off the mediums." But once Saul swears an oath that she will be safe, her fear vanishes instantly. She switches into professional mode. She asks a question that reveals her staggering pride. She says to the king, "Whom shall I bring up for you?" Pause and think about that sentence. Whom shall I bring up? She speaks as if she has an index of the dead. She speaks as if she has the souls of the departed are files in a cabinet, and she has the key. She believes she can command any soul, from a peasant to a prophet, to come out of the grave and speak. This is the ultimate blasphemy. This is the arrogance of the Watchers. They believe they own the human race, both in life and in death. She does not say, "I will try to contact someone." She says, "Tell me the name, and I will drag him up." She believes she is the gatekeeper. Saul looks at her. He is desperate. He is trembling, and he whispers the name of the only man who ever told him the truth. He says, "Bring up Samuel." The witch probably smiled. To her, Samuel was just another dead man, another ghost to be manipulated, another frequency to be tuned in. She prepares her ob. She enters the trance. She starts the low mumbling. She reaches out into the darkness of the underworld, expecting to grab a familiar spirit, a demon masquerading as the old prophet. She has done this 1,000 times. It is a routine procedure. But she has no idea that this time the rules of the universe have changed. She is about to open a door, and instead of a puppet coming out, a lion is going to walk through.
The ritual begins. The woman begins to engage the ob. She likely lowers her voice, entering a trance state, creating that rhythmic, mumbling sound that vibrates against the limestone walls. The air in the cave grows heavy. The temperature drops. Saul and his servants are watching in the shadows, holding their breath. They're waiting for the show to start. And make no mistake, usually this is a show. We need to understand the standard operating procedure of a necromancer. When a medium claims to call up the dead, they are not usually pulling a soul out of heaven or hell. They are contacting what the Bible calls a familiar spirit. In Hebrew, this is an ob spirit. These are demonic entities. They are the disembodied spirits of the Nephilim who roamed the earth. They have been around for thousands of years. They know history. They know your grandmother's name. They can mimic her voice. Usually, the witch acts as the director of a play. She calls a spirit. The spirit puts on a mask. The spirit pretends to be Uncle John or Prophet Samuel. The witch remains in control. She is the master of the frequency. But on this night at Endor, the script was thrown into the fire. The woman calls out for Samuel. She expects a familiar demon to answer. She expects a faint, whispery imitation. But suddenly, the ob stops working. The frequency is hijacked. The Bible records a reaction that is pure, unadulterated terror. Verse 12 says, "When the woman saw Samuel, she cried out with a loud voice."
she screamed. This was not a theatrical scream to impress the client. This was a scream of shock. This was the scream of a zookeeper who enters the lion's cage and realizes the lock is broken. Why did she scream? Because she saw the real thing. For the first time in her dark career, the deception failed. She did not see a demon pretending to be Samuel. She saw the actual spirit of the prophet Samuel ascending from Sheol. She realized instantly that her magic had nothing to do with this. She had not summoned him. He had broken through. A power greater than her occult technology had ripped the fabric of reality open. In that moment of terror, the deception of Saul's disguise also fell apart. The spiritual shockwave was so strong that she instantly connected the dots. Only one man on earth could trigger such a high-level intervention from the God of Israel. She turns to the stranger and shouts, "Why have you deceived me? For you are Saul." But Saul is too desperate to care about her fear. He asks the most chilling question of the night, "What do you see?" Her answer changes our understanding of the afterlife. She does not say, "I see a ghost." She does not say, "I see a shadow." She whispers, "I see a God coming up out of the earth." The Hebrew word she uses is Elohim. This is a plural word. It is the same word used for the Creator in Genesis 1. It is also used to describe angels, magistrates, and divine beings. Why would she call a dead old man Elohim? Because Samuel was not floating like a wispy cloud. He was rising with authority. He was coming up from the compartment of Sheol known as Abraham's bosom, the place of the righteous dead. He appeared majestic. He appeared terrifyingly powerful. He looked like a magistrate of the supreme spiritual court. The witch was used to dealing with bottom-feeder demons, the scavengers of the spirit world. Suddenly, she is staring at a prince of the afterlife. She describes him further. An old man is coming up, and he is wrapped in a robe. The robe is significant. It represents his office. Even in death, Samuel retains his rank. He has not lost his identity. He has not merged into a cosmic consciousness. He is still Samuel. The text says, "And Saul perceived that it was Samuel." Saul does not see him yet. He only hears the description. But the atmosphere in that cave has shifted from a seedy fortune-telling den to a courtroom of divine judgment. The witch pulls back into the shadows. She is no longer the main character. She is just a terrified spectator. Her awe is silent. Her familiar spirits have fled in fear of the entity that has just arrived. Saul falls with his face to the ground. He bows prostrate. The silence is broken, not by the mumbling of a witch, but by the voice of a dead man. And the first thing the dead man says is not a comfort. It is an accusation. "Why have you disturbed me?" The word disturbed in Hebrew implies a violent shaking or trembling. Saul has rattled the gates of death itself. The horror has just begun. The visual terror is over, but the psychological terror is about to be delivered. The king wanted a word from the other side. Now he is going to get it.
The cave falls silent. The scream of the witch has faded. Now there is only the voice of the dead judge and the heavy breathing of a terrified king. Saul wanted an answer. He wanted a strategy for the battle. Instead, he gets a court summons. Samuel speaks. His voice is not a whisper from the wind. It is the cold, hard logic of heaven. He asks Saul, "Why do you ask me, seeing that the Lord has departed from you and has become your enemy?" This is the ultimate reality check. Saul is trying to bypass God to get to God's prophet. But Samuel makes it clear, there is no bypass. If the King of the universe has blocked you, no ghost can save you. Then Samuel delivers the verdict. He does not offer a riddle. He does not give a vague horoscope prediction. He delivers a precise, detailed prophecy of doom. He confirms that the kingdom has been torn from Saul's hands and given to David. But that is old news. Saul knew that. The true horror comes in the next sentence. This is perhaps the most chilling sentence ever spoken to a living man. Samuel says, "Tomorrow, you and your sons will be with me." Let that sink in. With me. Samuel is in Sheol. He is in the realm of the dead. He is telling Saul that in less than 24 hours, his heart will stop beating. His soul will be ripped from his body. He will descend into the earth to join the congregation of the dead. This proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that this was the real Samuel. If this were a demon, a lying spirit from the witch's collection, it likely would have lied. Demons usually manipulate. They give false hope. They tell the client what they want to hear to keep them coming back. But this entity gave a prophecy that was 100% accurate. The next day, the armies of Israel were defeated. Saul's sons were killed, and Saul took his own life on Mount Gilboa. The prophecy was sealed. Look at the reaction of the king. Verse 20 says, "Immediately Saul fell full length on the ground and was dreadfully afraid because of the words of Samuel." Saul was a giant of a man. The Bible says he was a head taller than anyone in Israel. To see a man of that size collapse full length means he went stiff. He hit the stone floor like a felled tree. He didn't just faint from hunger. His spirit was broken. He realized he had committed the ultimate transgression. He had sought life in the forbidden darkness, and the darkness had handed him a death sentence. And now we see a strange shift in the behavior of the witch. The woman approaches the fallen king. The text says she saw that he was troubled. Suddenly, the necromancer becomes the nurse. She becomes gentle. She urges him to get up. She says, "Let me set a morsel of bread before you and eat, that you may have strength." Why the sudden kindness? Is it compassion? Perhaps. Even a monster can feel pity for a broken man. But let us look at this through the lens of horror. She insists on killing a fatted calf and baking unleavened bread. This is a meal prepared in haste, but it involves blood sacrifice, the killing of the calf. In many ancient cultures, and even in the behavior of predators, you feed the victim before the end. It is the last supper of the condemned. The witch realizes she is in the presence of a doomed man. She has just heard a god from the underworld pronounce his execution. She is terrified of the power that is hunting Saul. By feeding him, she is perhaps trying to appease the spirits that are circling him. Or maybe she just wants him strong enough to leave her cave so that he doesn't die on her property. Saul refuses at first, but his servants force him. He sits up on the witch's bed. He eats the meat of the calf in the house of the Rephaim. It is a grotesque image. The rejected king of Israel, eating his final meal in the den of a necromancer, with the taste of doom in his mouth. He finishes the meal. He stands up and he walks out into the night. He walks away from Endor, but he is already a ghost. He is a dead man walking towards Gilboa. The witch watches him leave, standing at the mouth of her cave, knowing that she has just witnessed the death of a dynasty. The story of King Saul and the Witch of Endor is not a fable. It is a case file. It is a documented warning from the archives of heaven. And the most terrifying part is not that it happened 3,000 years ago. The most terrifying part is that it is happening right now in your living room. We are living in the age of the resurgence of the occult. Today, we do not have to walk 10 miles in the dark to find a cave. We carry the cave in our pockets. The ancient Ob, that hollow vessel used to channel spirits, has been upgraded. Today, we have Ouija boards sold in toy stores. We have ghost hunting apps on our phones that claim to detect frequencies. And now we are standing on the edge of the most dangerous precipice of all, artificial intelligence necromancy. Tech companies are developing algorithms that can upload the personality of your deceased loved ones. You can chat with them. You can hear their voice. You can ask them for advice. They are building a digital Ob. They are creating a hollow vessel and inviting something to fill it. But you need to understand the mechanics of the spirit world. When you open that door, who walks through? The Bible is clear. The dead do not wander the earth. They are in Sheol. They are in the holding place. The only time a human soul came back was Samuel, and that took a direct act of God that terrified even the witch. So who are you talking to? When you use a spirit box or a medium or an AI chatbot to talk to the dead, you are contacting familiar spirits. These are the disembodied spirits of the Nephilim. They are the demons that roam the earth looking for a host. They have been watching humanity for millennia. They know your secrets. They know your grief. And they are masters of mimicry. They will sound like your grandmother. They will use her phrases. They will make you cry. But it is a trap. King Saul sought information from the grave, and it cost him his crown, his life, and his soul. He bypassed God to find a shortcut, and he found a dead end. The lesson of Endor is simple and brutal. Do not open the door. There is a reason God forbade this practice. It was not to limit our freedom. It was to protect us from a predatory species that lives in the invisible spectrum. These entities do not want to help you. They want to possess you. They want to feed on your despair. So, if you are grieving, if you are desperate for an answer, do not go to the witch. Do not go to the medium. Do not go to the AI chatbot. Let the dead sleep. Their time is done. Your time is now. Do not make the mistake of the king. Keep the door to the underworld locked. If you want to uncover more files on the hidden history of the spiritual war, make sure you subscribe. We are digging deeper into the archives that the world wants to keep buried. Stay watching, stay vigilant, and whatever you do, don't listen to the whispers in the dark.